Welcome to Module 3. This module focuses on the practice guide recommendation, explicitly teach appropriate writing strategies using a model, practice, reflect instructional cycle. In Module 2, we looked at the first 3 components of the writing process: planning, goal setting, and drafting. This video will provide you with practical ideas for teaching writing strategies during the last 3 phases of the writing process: evaluating, revising, and editing. Students often think that good writers are naturally talented and get their thoughts out perfectly on the first try. But most accomplished writers will tell you that even though they do some revision while they're creating an initial draft, they then engage in more thorough evaluating, revising, and editing as they consider their purpose and audience. Evaluating is determining whether the text achieves the writer's goals and is based on self-review or external feedback, such as from a peer or a teacher. Revising is making substantive changes to the text to enhance its meaning, organization, or style. Editing is making surface-level changes to ensure that the text correctly adheres to the conventions of written English. Evaluating, revising, and editing helps students move from what researchers call writer-based prose, where they're writing for themselves, to reader-based prose, where they're writing for an audience. A common misconception is that revising writing is the same thing as editing writing, but editing involves surface-level changes at the word and sentence level, while revising involves substantive changes at the sentence, paragraph, and whole text level that impact the meaning of the text. Evaluating is particularly important for revising, as the writer determines whether they have achieved the goals that they have set for their writing. Color coding is one strategy students can use to evaluate their own first drafts to determine what needs to be revised. For example, students can highlight summary sentences in orange to orient their readers to the facts. They can highlight text evidence, supporting details, and quotes in green. And perhaps most importantly, they can highlight their commentary in blue. Commentary sentences reveal a student's deeper thinking, interpretations, insights, opinions, and conclusions. The teacher can model color coding with an exemplar text. Then, students can practice color coding their own drafts or work with a partner. They can make a list of what they noticed and develop a plan for revision.
My students aren't comfortable evaluating their peers' work.
It will take time for developing writers to understand the attributes of effective writing and to feel confident in offering peers their feedback. Teachers can model this process by thinking aloud in front of the class and modeling how to give both positive and constructive feedback. I call this giving glows and grows.
I model the use of rubrics for my students, but my students' self-assessments aren't accurate.
The teacher can gradually transition responsibility to students by providing them with specific things to look for in their peers' writing and to scaffold the written feedback with sentence starters. Consider modeling the use of rubrics by taking 2 pieces of student writing from a previous year. One, an exemplar of an effective text, and one, an exemplar of a less effective text. Have students read and make notes on what makes one paper more or less effective than the other. Then invite students to compare what they noticed in the text against the writing rubric. A teacher's next step might be to provide students with a checklist aligned to the rubric to apply to their own draft. Students' accuracy in assessing their own writing is likely to improve with more opportunities to engage in the writing process. In this module, we'll be focusing on how these and other strategies support students as they evaluate, revise, and edit their policy arguments.